Hey guys, Nintendrew here. Today we'll be checking out the Retro Champ Portable from MyArcade. Alright, so this is the Retro Champ, a portable hybrid system which can play both your original NES titles as well as Famicom cartridges. Some of you might remember I had the chance to try this system briefly last year at E3, but now that it's out, we're finally able to test everything and fully evaluate it. Now, to be fair, I have joked on MyArcade quite a bit in the past for their various bootleg handheld systems and plug-and-play Famiclones, but it is great to see them genuinely branching out to some legitimate retro gaming accessories. The Retro Champ is available today and retails for $79.99. On the hardware side, the Retro Champ sports a 7-inch screen, and the game cartridges are inserted into either slot on the back of the unit. NES games go in the top, and Famicom games on the bottom. The system is pretty beefy for a portable as a result, especially with the cartridge sticking out. I mean, this is an absolute unit. However, it does have a solid build quality, which is a nice benefit. The first thing I noticed when testing the Retro Champ is, curiously, it doesn't appear to use any sort of software emulation, but instead acts as a hardware clone. On top of that, there isn't any sort of upscaling effect applied to the console's video signal, so what you get on the screen is that raw composite video, kind of like plugging a real NES console with those red and yellow cables to a modern TV. As a result, the Retro Champ is closer to something like an early Retron system or a bootleg Famiclone than something more polished like the much pricier Analog ENT, or an emulator you might run on your phone or PC. The output image is anything but crisp. It's kind of a blurry mess, to be honest. But on the other hand, MyArcade's decision to develop this as a hardware clone does mean it has near-perfect compatibility with the NES library. You're most likely never going to run into a working game that won't run on the Retro Champ. On the top of the system, next to the power button, you'll find a small switch, which toggles the screen to swap between 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratios. And this setting works for both handheld mode and when outputting to the TV. More on that later. Another issue that stuck out to me while testing this is the audio is a little bit off. The speakers don't sound too great, but even outside of that, you might notice some familiar sound effects don't sound quite like you remember them. This is a common side effect of lots of NES clone consoles, as poor sound emulation can be a consequence of cheaply manufactured sound chips. There is a port for headphones over on the right side as well, but because the problem lies in the hardware itself, headphones are not going to be much better. Overall, it is a minor issue, but something to be aware of. However, one thing we haven't addressed yet is what really makes the Retro Champ shine. From a design perspective, it almost feels like a Nintendo Switch for NES games. You can, of course, play your games in handheld mode, but you can also pull out a kickstand, pop out a controller, and play on a tabletop. Or if you're looking to move to the big screen, just plug in an HDMI cable on the back, and you're good to go. It might not be quite as convenient to set up as dropping your Nintendo Switch into a dock, but TV output is still a very nice and welcome feature, and on the upside it means you only have to bring along one cable to convert the system while on the go. Now, of course, the Retro Champ does not work with original NES controllers, so instead it makes use of the wireless MyArcade Super Gamepad. Overall, these new controllers aren't bad, they actually play pretty nice, no complaints here. But if you do want to play in either tabletop or TV mode, it should be noted that these controllers are not included with the Retro Champ. That's an extra cost you'll have to consider if that feature is important to you. But my favorite part by far about the Retro Champ has to be its cleaning compartment. On the lower left side is a latch which releases a hidden compartment. Inside is a space for cotton swabs and a compact vial of isopropyl alcohol. Perfect for scrubbing away the buildup of grime from the contacts of your old cartridges, keeping them clean and ready to play. Once you're finished, just close the compartment and slide it back into place, not unlike the Switch's Joy-Con controllers. This handy addition definitely caught my eye back at E3 and still strikes me as the best feature the Retro Champ has to offer. Now here's the thing. I really don't expect anyone to buy one of these things and actually go out and use it daily in their regular life, in public. You'd have to be some special kind of hipster to want to play NES games in public, but only from genuine cartridges and not from any sort of emulator. But there is one demographic in particular that I think might be able to get some good use out of this device. Collectors. I think the Retro Champ could be an unsung hero for hardcore collectors like me, especially at conventions. Imagine this, you're hunting for new titles on the vendor floor, and you come across something that looks interesting. With the Retro Champ, you can test that title on the spot, no TV or console required. Afterwards, you can take the system back to your hotel room, plug in an HDMI cable, and play on the TV, either solo or with a friend. If this system has anything going for it, it's definitely convenience. Now, I would have liked to have seen an overall smaller form factor, maybe without the option for 16:9 gameplay. It doesn't really make much sense because NES and Famicom titles were of course built with 4:3 screens in mind. Most people, I would imagine, are never going to use that extra screen space, which feels like a bit of a waste. The system could have been made quite a bit slimmer without that addition. Another big issue that I should definitely highlight if you're at all interested in picking one of these up is the pin connectors are especially tight and really grip onto your cartridges. It is not a minor issue by any stretch of the imagination. Like, just take a look. I genuinely didn't even notice anything was wrong until I decided to test a Famicom game. Because these smaller cartridges are flush with the bottom of the system, it's almost impossible to grip them and find enough leverage to pull the game back out, especially with that brand new pin connector inside. So to fix this problem, MyArcade included this absolutely ridiculous ejection device that you're supposed to put in on the NES side in order to pop your Famicom game out from the other end. Yes, really. For what it's worth, the ejection tool works, but honestly it's way too bulky to actually take with you on the go. It is technically possible to remove your games without it, but it's definitely a workout and might be a little iffy. I really do hope that those pin connectors get broken in over time. That's what would happen with an actual NES. So it might be that, after a few months of use, it could be that it doesn't have quite such a death grip on your cartridges. But in the meantime, I'm definitely going to think twice before using any sort of even moderately valuable games with the Retro Champ. I wouldn't recommend the Retro Champ if you're looking for a main machine to just play NES games. But if you're a seasoned collector looking to take an NES on the go, it is pretty convenient. Overall, I give the MyArcade Retro Champ a 6 out of 10. But anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this review of the MyArcade Retro Champ Portable. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and make sure to share it with any friends who might find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like this one, here are 2 more videos you might like as well. As always, if you like what I do and would like to help out the channel, I've got a link to my Patreon on the right side of your screen. And otherwise, I hope you look forward to the next one. Take care!